Hello. After I posted my Kirov commentary, a lot of people asked me if I thought it was the best Sealclubber, or if it wasn't, what is in my opinion the best one. Now, the Kirov certainly is not the best Sealclubber. If matchmaking was more balanced, then there's a possibility it might rank in one of the higher ones, or might be one of the better ones, provided you would actually only face at max T6 opponents. But considering T5 cruisers and battleships and DDs constantly get matched up against T7s, there's not much point in playing it. Okay, he dodged my strafe. I tried to go for a cheeky little strafe on his fighters. Right, but now I'm just going to avoid them since I don't really want to engage them. I just wanted to make sure he won't spot my planes. Of course, what I am playing here is the Zuiho, the T5 Japanese carrier. Now I know where his planes is, and I know that he's probably spotting my planes right now. So I engage his fighters right away, because I don't want his fighters to go and intercept mine, because he's running the exact same spec I am. As soon as I found out that he's running the same spec, and I know where his fighters are, I engage them to lock them up, while I send the rest of my planes down to snipe him. And now, the Zuiho is, in my opinion, right now the best Sealclubber in the game. Mostly because, well, non-premium of course, there can be arguments made about Gremiashi and so forth, but the T5 Zuiho has the advantage of, well, first of all, because it's a carrier, it doesn't get thrown into those horrible T7 games. It pretty much never happens for the Zuiho. They got preferred matchmaking, which makes life a lot easier. And in general, there's really nothing that has that much AA at these tiers. Of course, the Cleveland exists, but that's less and less popular these days. And other cruisers that even have defensive AA, like the Aoba and the Budionni, I mean, well, first of all, you shouldn't be going for them to begin with, but even they don't really have that terrifying amount of AA. And most of the time in a Zuiho, you'll end up against T5 opponents. Like, the majority will be T5s. Sometimes there's some T4s mixed in, sometimes there's some T6 mixed in. But in general, you end up facing T5s all day long. And most T5s don't have defensive AA. They don't know how to really evade planes. They don't know how to deal with carriers in general. As evidenced here, basically this carrier caught completely flat-footed. He tried some valiant things. He tried to turn into the torps. You saw first I dropped from the left side to make him turn that way, and then I dropped from the right side since he's already turned that way and can no longer avoid. And this time I hit him with 3 torps. At this point he has to repair, because otherwise the flooding will kill him very, very quickly. And because he's used repair, I just go in and manual drop. Holding down Alt, you manual drop. And I manual drop right on top of him, which is a guaranteed kill. And bam, first blood, and the carrier is out of the way. Now, basically, by sniping the enemy carrier, you kind of open up the entire battlefield for yourself. That's when you can just go to work and just start farming. And that's literally what it is. It is farming, because there's almost no risk to yourself. You have to, of course, keep now that the enemy's planes are dead, I use my fighters to spot the enemy DD, since of course you have to keep an eye out on the enemy DDs. If you spot them for your team will usually focus them down after some prodding and poking them and telling them, what the fuck are you doing, you idiots. After some time they will usually focus them down. And DDs can be a problem because it's pretty popular for DDs to rush the carrier in low tier games, so getting your team to actually focus them down makes life a lot easier. But in general, once you get rid of the enemy carrier, and even if you don't get rid of the enemy carrier, if it happens like they spot your strike and you have to abort and so forth, even then you can usually do a lot of damage with the Zuiho on pretty much anyone. Because people don't, well, they've just even the tier 4 ones especially, they're pretty much getting their first introduction really to carriers, and they don't really know how to deal with one at all. Especially if you are experienced and you use manual drops and such, then they really have no chance of properly avoiding your strikes. Now, this is standard battle, which usually standard battles is something I hate, but the one ship that benefits greatly from standard battles is naturally the carrier, because standard battles tend to drag on for a very long time, and there's usually a fairly cohesive battlefield, meaning it's kind of easy to stay safe, whereas in domination people tend to spread out all over and leave openings where enemy ships can charge in and kill you and so forth. So in this open type, in these standard battles, the carrier actually shines because he gets time to execute these strikes. If you consider I've struck once, and I killed the enemy carrier, and it's already 6 minutes have passed before my second strike is coming out. 6 minutes have passed before I could finally reload, refuel my planes, and send them out again. So I deal with the ship closest to me, the Svetlana, because it looks like there's about to be a gap in the hulls. You see the Furtaka is moving away, and the two battleships are moving down, so if he turns north, he can kill me. Now, I kind of failed that drop. I underestimated how small the Svetlana is. It's really a DD-sized cruiser, honestly. It's quite small. But I compensate with this next drop. It's impossible for him to dodge this, and he should eat 2 torps. That's, of course, that's the classic... Well, that wasn't really a good cross-drop. I show in my other Zuiho commentary, my introduction to CVs, I show how to do a proper cross-drop on DDs. But against the cruiser, you don't really need to do it. They can't turn sharply enough. Once again, I keep my plane. You might notice that I'm keeping my plane between the battleship and the DD, and the Karlsruhe, of course. The idea is I want to spot any torps heading his way to give him advance notice so he doesn't get killed. Because my team is quite far behind. I'm gonna see if I can maybe send out one of the bomber planes to deal with the Karlsruhe, for example. Or maybe the DD. Either one would be good to just alleviate some pressure on this Congo. Oh, the Congo dodged. And he got... Nice! He got them both. Well played to the Congo. Well, then I'll just go blow the repair on this Wyoming. Once again, the reason why I picked the Zuiho and not the Hosha is mostly you have so many options to blow enemy repairs with. You have both the flooding and the fires. And lower tier players tend to kind of knee-jerk overreact. Once again, manual dropping, making sure I get a good drop. There we go, a fire. They tend to overreact, and they tend to instantly repair one fire. They're like, oh no, I'm on fire, repair, snap. And that's later when you come with your torp bombers and set flooding on them and stuff like that, they just die to it because they can no longer repair, or alternatively they get massive amounts of damage. You see, in this game would be very hard on any other ship. You see, we're down we're 5 ships against 7. This game might be really difficult on any other class, but on a carrier, I have absolutely no worries. Because it's so easy to carry games on carriers in low tier. So easy. Just the ships are so slow, they're clumsy, there's no AA, and the planes are just fast. The maps are so small as well, so it's very easy to just... Whoa, I only hit 1 torp. Well, that was horrible of me. Well, he died right after. That was still bad play for me, I should have gotten that kill. Once again, I'm gonna see if I can maybe get a better drop. This is of course taking a bit of adjustment if you're used to playing high tiers. It's naturally all the battleships on low tier are quite small compared to the higher tier ones. So it takes some getting used to getting those drops that you actually hit 3 torps with. Usually I only hit 2 in low tiers because the battleships are so small. You have to drop from really far away to get 3, and the guy you're dropping has to be completely oblivious. So once again, I send my bomber down here. He broke his engine, so that lets me know that he's moving still, so he's probably instantly repaired his engine. So I send my bomber down there to set some fires on him. And the next squad I will be sending over to the other flank where they probably need help. You might notice, by the way, I'm constantly sticking with my buddies here, or the ones that are still alive. I'm moving with the battleships. I'm not... You so often see these airfields that sit still and spawn and do nothing. Basically, they sit still, then they get found by the enemy and they get killed. Just don't do it. Always move with your fleet. You're much easier to protect then. Now I know exactly where everyone is on the map, so I'm not afraid to go on a bit of my own adventures. But usually if you have any questions of where the enemy is, just stay with your fleet. 2 fires that you can't repair, because he repaired the broken engine earlier. So now I know that my Wyoming Kaiser buddy will have absolutely no issues dealing with that guy, so I just send the next squads I send to the other side to help the other side. Because clearly they should have no issues dealing with the Wyoming that's burning without being able to repair. So there should be an easy win for these two. So I send my planes to the other side. There's no point wasting my strike on a guy that will already eat massive damage and is most likely going to die. You often see carriers, especially low tier, waste a lot of strikes on a lot of useless stuff. Actually, I might get Kraken. Maybe I should send one. Should I go for the Kraken? This is greed, mostly. I want my Kraken. That's mostly it. That's greed. Honestly, I don't think that was tactically that good of a decision to waste that one torpedo bomber there, but it's mostly because of the fact that I want Kraken. I don't, from a tactical point of view, that was not the most optimal choice by any means. That was mostly just me wanting to get my daily Kraken, which of course, if you usually that's what people use seal clubbing ships for, is to farm a bunch of flags. They get their Kraken wins, and if they struggle otherwise to get them on other tiers, they get their Confederates and all these like high caliber and stuff that they struggle with to get in high tiers. That's what people usually use basically seal clubbing ships for. Not that I particularly recommend it, but people have asked me what I would use if I needed to use it, and my answer is of course this Zuiho, because I just think it's so strong at low tiers. It's so easy to farm these kills. I'm already up at what, 4 kills, and if I hadn't missed one drop I'd already have my Kraken. Now the Königsberg is unlike the rest of his bodies. He's realizing I'm basically murdering them all. So he's sailing across, trying to rush me. So he's obviously my next target. I instantly move away, I put the island mass between me and him, and my next torpedo bombers will be going his way. Meanwhile I send my bomber, which was going to struggle hitting a Königsberg, I send him over here to force this Mayogi to repair. So either if he can't repair, he's going to suffer from 2 fires. If he can repair, then my cruiser there, Furutaka, I think, will have a much easier time because, well, the Mayogi has used his repair. Anyway, the Königsberg is obviously hunting me, so I drop him from the side. I think he's a bit faster than I expected. Yeah, that was not really a good drop. Only 2. I definitely could have hit some more torps there. I kind of underestimated his speed. But it's fine. Hitting 2 torps, like in high tier hitting 2 torps is nothing, but low tier 2 torps on a cruiser is literally like almost 2/3 of their HP. It's just such a ridiculous amount of damage on this tier. So 1 torp and some flooding would kill him, but I'll just make sure I land multiple torps to ensure the kill. Yeah, this drop was much better. This one will be a 3 torp hit. I'll probably only have time to hit 2 before he dies. But that's how easy it is to farm that Kraken on a low tier ship, or on a Zuiho in general. Like, all low tier carriers are of course strong. But personally I like the Zuiho because you have this balance of, you have that one fighter which you can use to juke and distract and tie up enemy fighters with, and in case you get rushed, like the enemy decides to rush you, a good strafe can turn that defense around. And then you got your 2 torpedo bombers, which are your damage dealer, and then you got that 1 bomber which you just use to burn enemy repairs, or alternatively use to set a bunch of fires on them once they have used their repairs. Like, either one works. Usually you want to go for the same target with the bombers as you have, or usually you want to use the bombers and the torpedo squads on the same target, unless you see someone take damage, let's say torp damage or something. If you see that happen, then of course you should go and set fires on him and basically abuse the fact that he's used his damage con. Ultimately, I think it was a good idea I killed that one Wyoming, because I saved these guys from taking any additional damage, because they ended up having to fight 2 battleships down there. Okay, that was a bit unlucky. 2 bomb hits, no fire. Those bombs have a very high chance of fire, so a bit unfortunate. Let's see if I can get a bit of a better torpedo drop here. I think the drop looks pretty decent. Is that a 3 torp hit? Nice, faster. Mayogi, damn it, he's too fast. I think he blew his repair instantly on the... Yeah, that's him dead. He's flooding as well, I think. Yeah, he's flooding. He's constantly flooding. So he's gonna die no matter what, because my bombers blew his repair earlier. Or well, actually no, he simply doesn't have it. The Furutaka might have forced his repair, or it simply hasn't had time to come up, because my bombers didn't actually start any fires. So my flooding is... Oh, the Furutaka's fire killed him. Fair enough. Well, I don't mind. I already have my Kraken, so he can get some kills. He helped slow him down and hold this flank, so good for him. Yeah, he's thanking me for the help, because he probably would have struggled with him himself, I guess. And yeah, ultimately I think it might have been now this other flank is collapsing, the one that I helped in the start. So once again, I send my planes to the other side. And this is one of the reasons why I also consider this one of the strongest Sealclubbers, a carrier, one of the strongest Sealclubbers that is. It's very flexible for you to send planes wherever you're needed. Like, whenever you see your team needs help, it's very easy to reinforce them and like assist there. Just forcing a battleship to turn around because you're dropping, it forces him to give broadside. So even if, let's say, you drop, you only hit the battleship with 2 torps and you do, let's say, 15k damage, not that much. But because you force him to turn, he then ends up eating a bunch of broadside damage and all this other. He forces you to repair, and he ends up eating fires and such. The actual damage you do doesn't nearly demonstrate the actual impact you have on the battlefield. Other impacts is, of course, constantly forcing repairs, which leads to a lot of additional damage from your teammates, and the constant spotting, of course, and of course what I just said, reinforcing any part of the battle. There's a battle. This Koenig has a huge advantage over my poor battleship, who's very, very low. He's the last survivor of this flank. So once I've dealt with the right flank, which was closer to me, always deal with the closest threat first. Once that threat is dealt with, I once again send my planes here. The reason you deal with the closest threat is, of course, this is the biggest threat to you, and second of all, you have shorter refueling times, meaning you don't have to wait for the planes as long to fly back and forth. So by dealing with the closer threat, I can strike more times than dealing with these guys back here. If I'd constantly dealt with these guys, the flying back and forth would have taken so much time, I wouldn't have had time to have as much of an impact on the battlefield as I did on this side, or as I did in this game. Once again, I keep my bomber out of the way, force some floodings and such. I think I might have spread out those bombs so much that he won't even be able to repair this flooding. Yeah, he's flooding. You can see my damage tick up. I probably won't even have time to bomb him to death. Go for the bomb regardless. But I still got the kill. And that's just how much of an impact you can have with this in these low tier games with a carrier. And of course the credits you make are very, very impressive indeed. I know there's been some talk of people complaining about carriers being weak and such, but honestly I have huge issues seeing that, because in my opinion carriers are still, a well-played carrier is still the most dangerous threat on the entire battlefield, by far, like absolutely by far. Let's see, even without premium and any modifiers or anything, you would still have made 250k credits. Pretty nice. Anyway, that was my Zuiho return or something. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.